Mark, thank you. Bans on abortion taking effect across the states on the heels of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade on Friday. Several states were quick to move. And joining us now is Democratic Representative from Illinois, Sherry Bustos. Congresswoman, thank you for being here. I saw you headed down to the Supreme Court to join the masses on Friday, less than 2 weeks after your hip replacement surgery. You sent a tweet including the hashtag won't go back. I was in the middle of that crush of humanity as well on Friday, Congresswoman. But after seeing several states change their laws over the weekend and even in the hours following that ruling on Friday, are you not going back?
Well, we've got to do everything we can now in light of what happened on Friday with this overturning of Roe versus Wade. I still have my cane right here. I'm now 2 weeks and 3 days past my hip replacement surgery. So, yeah, I was hobbling. I was kind of last in line among my colleagues, both men and women who serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. But our message there, Joe, was right after this ruling. We're on the House floor. We're casting votes. This all-important vote about trying to do something about gun violence in America. And then, of course, we get this news from the Supreme Court. So it was very impromptu. We hadn't planned it. And we just we started chanting. We got together on the front of the U.S. Capitol building and marched over there to have our voices be heard. And I think what we're going to see going ahead is we're going to see women going on strike as women who just want to say, hey, I want to have a say on what my own health care. I mean, this is really just a matter of women having a say on their own health care. And so I think we're going to see protests and marches and strikes and the such that I hope and pray will all be peaceful. And but we've got to have our voices be heard about something that is so egregious as this ruling from the Supreme Court on Friday, and especially in light of what Clarence Thomas said in his opinion. It's all very scary as an American who loves freedom and as an American who wants to make sure that we have the rights, actually grow our rights with every generation.
As a Democrat, how do you turn the marching and protests you mentioned, Congresswoman, into actual turnout at the polls in November? Is this an opportunity for the midterms?
Well, I'm never a fan of just protesting without having some result come out of it. And as the person who ran the political arm of House Democrats last election cycle, it really all gets down to how are we going to motivate people to vote? How are we going to get these people who are just turning 18 years old, getting them registered to vote? They're historically low in their number of voting turnout for that younger generation. We've got to motivate them. But this is a time to get to work. It's not a time just to march from the Capitol over to the Supreme Court, or for that matter, march down Main Street in whatever town you live in. We've got to turn this into action. And I think the most important action that we're going to be able to see is registering people to vote and then having a get out the vote strategy. In the state of Illinois, where I'm from, our primary election is tomorrow, and I'm told that the early voting is historically low. That is not okay right now. If you are a person who values making your own healthcare decisions, if you are a person who loves the fact that we live in the longest standing democracy in the history of the world and want to protect that, all of that is on the ballot in November. And so marching's not enough. We've got to turn that into action.
I want to ask you about what's happening in your state. Your governor says he's going to call an emergency session here to further strengthen, to further protect abortion rights in the state. He already signed legislation, though, last year that establishes abortion as a fundamental right for women who are living in Illinois. What else needs to be done then?
Well, keep in mind, in the state of Illinois, we are surrounded by states where the rights for women to make their own health care decision are being yanked away in light of this decision. And so we want to make sure that... So this would invite them to travel to Illinois, in other words? Well, look, I mean, I think, hey, if I'm a woman in St. Louis, Missouri, and I want to be able to make my own health care decisions, whatever those are, yeah, I'm going to cross that Mississippi River. Look, I don't think we want to be characterized in any other way other than that. We've got the policy for women to make their own health care decisions. That is the right policy. I applaud Governor Pritzker. And he is, depending on what happens in our primary race tomorrow, and Joe, we can revisit this discussion, but if a guy named Darren Bailey wins the Republican primary, he wants to take away women's rights to make their own decisions on health care. So I can tell you this, I am a fan of J.B. Pritzker to begin with, but now more than ever, the voters in Illinois have to make sure that we reelect J.B. Pritzker because he is on the right side of making sure that women can make our decisions about our own bodies.
We're going to be talking about that primary a bit later on this hour here on Balance of Power. I want to ask you, though, about something you reminded us of yesterday. 7 years since marriage equality was made law of the land. You issued a statement on that because you believe that this law is also at risk following the opinion that we heard from Justice Clarence Thomas on Friday, who referred to these precedents as demonstrably erroneous. Will same-sex marriage be struck down, Congresswoman?
Well, I think that we all ought to be on high alert based on the fact that Clarence Thomas, in his opinion, said that it should be at risk. Also throws out there that contraception the fact that we can run down to a pharmacy and get the kind of contraception that we want. Yeah. He thinks that should be at risk. Clarence Thomas is on the extreme, and he is a member of the U.S. Supreme Court, a position that is a lifetime position.
So should Congress be acting in advance of such a ruling?
I would be in favor of that. But here's our problem. Again, if you want to get down to the fact of how important it is that we vote, Democrats have a very, very slim majority in the U.S. House, and we are 50-50, and only because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are in the White House can we break any kind of 50-50 tie. Yeah. So this election, and I know it can't be the only answer. We've got to motivate people. We have to have the right candidates. We have to have a very strong get-out-the-vote strategy. All of that, everybody hates money in politics. But we have to have the resources to make sure that we are going to have a strategy where we can communicate with voters and where we can register voters. I don't think there's anything more important at this point than registering voters and having the strongest that we've ever had get-out-the-vote strategy.
The View from Illinois.
All of this is on the ballot in November.
Congresswoman Sherry Bustos, we thank you for answering all of our questions today. And coming up,